Welcome, Rocio Luna, the brokerage owner in Ontario, California. Rocio works in insurance in two ways as part of the group Acrisure, and she will tell us all about it, and also through her own consulting firm where she helps employers and employees work on claims together. And she brings her expertise to a vast community in the southern part of California. Welcome, Rocio. It is our pleasure to have you with us. Why don't you tell us what got you here? What has been your journey to come to this place that you are in today?
Yes. Thank you so much, Francis, for having me on your podcast. Super excited to talk to you and your audience. So, my name is Rocio Luna. I am a commercial insurance broker here in Southern California. I've been in the business for about 10 years. I started my career in claims management, and I did that for about 7 years. So, pretty much I was managing workers' comp claims, helping out contractors, and a vast majority of employers reduce their workers' comp rates by managing their claims. As time went on, I pretty much moved up, grew within the claims management, and then around 4 years ago, I decided to take a leap of faith and venture from claims to sales. And now I am a client advisor in Acrisure. So I've really developed my whole expertise and education around helping out contractors and staffing agencies reduce their insurance costs. And here in California, it's very different because there are a couple of states in the US that have their own way of how they calculate workers' comp. So here it's something called the experience modification rate. And
Mhm.
what that means is that all employers in California, they are rated on what their claims come out to be. So what that means is if you were to have 3 to 4 or 5 claims in the past 3 years, you're definitely going to see an increase in workers' comp. And what many people don't know is that you're able to manage your workers' comp claims either by you having a third party managing it, or if it's not something that's being managed, it might be something in the safety side. Because one thing that I've seen with employers is that when they're growing at a really fast rate, their eyes are always just very on, what's next, the sales, growth, revenue, but they don't see that they are, by growing so quick that they don't have their SOPs, their operations. And when they're going at such a high speed, there tends to be more claims. And also because they're very busy in hiring a lot of people. So when they're in the hiring process without training people, it's really easy for an employee to get hurt. So there's actually a very large statistic that a new employee within 1 year is want to say it's about they have about 60% rate that they will get into a claim. And that's one thing that many employers don't consider is that they need to really focus on training their new employees because just because you hire someone, for example, if you're a concrete company and you hire another employee that also did concrete in the past, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that that same company had the same policies and procedures as you do. So because that person may have the experience doesn't mean that they know your structure. And the same thing with, management and the people in the office. Just because someone has, amazing, great accounting skills, great everything, but if you don't have a structure and show them how you want them to do it, because each employer is different. Everybody wants a different way of
Mhm.
how they get things done. And majority of companies they all have a process. So whatever every process in each company is very different. So it's really finding and seeing where your gaps are. And as you know, a lot of people get insurance without reading their insurance
Mhm.
policy.
Mhm.
So oftentimes, I'm also at fault at this. I'll buy a homeowner's insurance policy, I'll buy something for myself without me knowing that I didn't know that I wasn't covered for XYZ. So that's really where my expertise comes in, with construction and knowing what their general liability looks like, what their commercial auto looks like. Because the last thing you want to have, God forbid, if you were to
Yeah.
have a claim, you're not covered.
Yeah. Got it. So it seems like your 7 years in claims management,
Mhm.
informs your sales process. So tell me more about
Correct.
this relationship between the two. Tell me more.
Yeah. So, coming from the claims management, I've really been able to help out my clients in giving them the client advisor. So instead of just being, a salesperson or a broker that just quotes for price, it's really going in and advising an employer of what the best steps is. Because, like I said, everybody's a little different. So, a company that's barely starting off, new venture, they're trying to get to 1 million is
Mhm.
completely different from the contractor who's at 50 million million going to 100 million, and they have, 50 trucks on the road versus the guy who has 2 trucks, but everybody's in a different stage and they have, different things going on in their company. And oftentimes what happens is that, if they've never had a claim before, it's really easy for someone to get nervous, especially, when an attorney comes in, and if it's your first time litigating or your first time dealing with attorneys, it could get pretty stressful.
Mm,
And it's very stressful when you start to ask yourself, am I covered? Am I not covered? My insurance rates are going up. I don't know what to do. And that gets more stressful, if you keep having claims after claims after claims, and you get to a point where like, okay, I'm paying hundreds and thousands of dollars in insurance and I don't know why. I need
mm,
help. And it's also, I always tell my clients too, like, I'm not here to take anybody's job in your company. You have your safety person, you have your HR person. I'm just here to advise you. So my job is to be a tool for you guys. I'm not trying to try and take your job away or do any of that. And whatever I provide to you guys, it's up to you to implement it. I will advise you, I will tell you, what's the best route. But at the end of the day, you could take my advice or you can't take my advice. And it's really looking for employers that want to be proactive. But also, I think that it comes a point when people come to realization saying, okay, you know what? I'm tired of paying thousands of dollars in insurance and I really want to reduce my costs, especially
mm,
nowadays.
mhm.
Inflation is up the roof. Over here in the US, gas prices are crazy and everything's just really expensive, as well as, hiring people and firing people is very expensive. And now with AI coming in, I see a lot of people and companies adopting AI methods. And it's kind of like we're in this weird spot where there's people who are adopting it really quick, where they're maybe replacing staff. And then there's other people who are looking at their company and seeing, okay, how can I grow and what can I do to reduce my costs? Because it's not like it was, 10 years ago when a new venture, if you were to look at something, start your own company, you would be the one doing it all yourself. Now you could be a new venture, use Manus, ChatGPT, whatever it is to draft out your policies and procedures. A lot of times, 5, 10 years ago, people would say, how do I draft out policies and procedures? If I have to read a contract, I have to like sit down, read all of this. Now people use Copilot. A lot of people, upload their documents saying, okay, what is this telling me? What's the best way for me to implement this? How can I say this to an employee? Giving advice. So I feel like now we have this advanced technology and there's companies that are, adopting it, and there's some companies that still haven't adopted it. So we're in this, weird stage where there's this adoption.
So tell us a bit about your relationship to Acrisure, from a legal standpoint, from a commercial standpoint. What is the relationship? What do they do for you? What do you do with them or for them?
Yes.
In a
So
few
Aquash
words. And then we'll move on to the next. Yeah.
Yes. So Acrisure is the brokerage I currently work for. They are a huge, large brokerage. We're, worldwide. We're in, I want to say in 6 different continents. We're licensed across the nation. And what I've partnered up with Acrisure is really being able to help out my clients and having them getting the best support, the service, and also the direct market access. So I always tell everybody, it's like instead of going to 7-Eleven to buy your milk, you're going to Costco and getting the Costco pricing. So it's the same thing, same carriers, but you're really reducing, the fees, the amount of middle people that you have to deal with. So it's having that advantage, having that name behind you, and obviously having the support. Because when I was starting off as an independent broker, it was just me. It was just me, my 2 virtual assistants. And as you start to grow, it starts to get, really hefty on the service side. So now I'm able to grow my book of business, having Acrisure, back me up, be my support, and also having the knowledge of other partners who are there who have been, 40 plus years in the business, and that who I look up to, and I could give them a call saying, hey, we have the situation where we have a company here, but they have they want to start a company in Mexico, or vice versa. They're in Mexico and they want to start a company here. What's the best way? And also the legal, because when it comes to that, there's all legality that you need to do. So if I ever need to, talk to someone that could help us out with that, it's being able to connect it. And you know what? Another thing that I want to point out too, that I'm very grateful for Acrisure. I have I've been growing my social media presence, and along with that, I've been able to get traction with different employers across the nation. But now I'm also hitting a worldwide a worldwide platform too. About 2 months ago, I had a contractor from London reach out to me for a bond, and I wouldn't be able to help them out if it wasn't, for Acrisure. So now, as my presence starts to grow, and that's the thing I always tell everybody, like, social media is another way of having your presence, having
Yeah.
people to being able to know you. And we're also in this technology era where I feel like people might have more of a trust or a sense of like, okay, this person is real. They're not a spammer. They're not,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get it. So what is the financial agreement typically between a broker and Acrisure? Is it like a franchise? Is it a rev share?
yeah.
Override?
Yeah, it's corporate. So they have different. So just so the audience might know, Acrisure 10, 20 years ago, well, I would say 10, 15 years ago, they started building their book of business through acquiring partners,
Yep.
and then they reached. I want to say they reached their corporate level maybe about 4, 3 years ago, and now they've been able to. And they used to have it separate, but now with being able to gather all that revenue and making it wholesome. Now it's like, this really large brokerage that we all run under one company. So it's Aquasure and no more, we still, the thing about us is that we like to run as entrepreneurship because it's a bunch of people who are entrepreneurs. So they give the freedom of people of still doing their thing, but operating under Aquasure instead of everybody's, own individual business names. It
Uh-huh.
is under Aquasure. And as people in the US might recognize it, they are on stadiums. They have two different stadiums. There's one here in Southern California, but now they're really trying to venture. And another thing that they're trying to adopt too is the AI model. And insurance, from what I've seen in the past, our industry is really slow to adopt some of the things. And I understand because, cybersecurity and so forth. But that's one venue that I've seen Aquasure start to acknowledge and maybe try to implement it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is the agreement? You're a 1099 for them, you're independent contractor, and
Yes.
you pay an amount every month of access to their services, or they take a cut of your revenue, or
Yeah, no, no. So I'm a 1099 for them. And yes, it is, you being a contractor for them and you operate under them.
but I mean, what is their business model and what is yours?
Like my own business?
No,
Or
no, I'm just saying like Acrisure, I mean, they collect money for being under their umbrella, they collect money from you, or you pay a fee, you pay a
oh no,
membership.
no. So yes, so there's a revenue share between the brokers and the brokerage.
Okay, got it. That's what I thought. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you for clarifying this. That's clear. So, all right. So, what is your vision for your own business within Acrisure? What is your growth strategy?
So my growth strategy is to being able to grow my book of business with them, being able to double and have being able to really grow in the construction and staffing and having that backup in being able to provide, direct access to my clients along with the risk management portion of it. So Aquasure has a lot of consulting individuals, TPAs, and for those larger companies that really need the help that are growing. And when I'm talking about larger companies, I'm talking about companies with employees over 100, and having those services, connecting those dots for them, and reducing their costs and risk.
And in terms of size, what's the growth objective that you have? Multiply by two, or like double the size?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, well, short term, I would like to grow my book of business end of this year, hopefully, to 20%. In the long term, I will always want to say, like, I want to grow my book of business to 5 million in gross revenue. So that's always been like my goal since I first started being an insurance broker. That's my goal because I have, a couple of friends and brokers who I'm connected with, and they're in that share of space. And I really look up to them because they obviously have had 20 plus years in the space, and just knowing the stories, knowing how they were able to help out their contractors, going from 5 people to now 200 people, and seeing the whole generations come by.
Hmm, wonderful. And okay, so and what do you see being in the way of your strategy? What are the pain points that you currently experience, in this growth journey, and that you may envision going down that path to grow?
Yes. So one of the growth points that I personally have, and I think sometimes with my service providers, is they might get stuck in the admin. So there's some things that we still haven't adopted. Really, if it were up to me, that if I was running my business as an individual, I would have
Yeah.
already adopted the automated processes, using chat bots or creating AI bots. That's what I would have done if I was, individual, running individual. But one of the things I do see in this insurance industry is that some of us are still using the old methods, Excel sheets, going through it one by one. And it's maybe because it might be just because some of the people, there's an age difference. So I'm 32, and maybe the people who are in their, late 40s, 50s have a way of doing things. And it's just the change. But it doesn't mean, people don't want to change. It just means it just takes a little
Oh,
longer to implement something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And how, okay, but is it within your circle of influence or not to be able to change that environment?
Yes, yes, it is because at the end of the day, the growth leaders want to see growth. So they're always open to new ideas of what is it that you need to implement. Like, how would we, like they say, hey, if you were to change something, or what would it be? How can we go to the next level? What can we do to implement it? And, I always say technology is made to help. It's not here to replace us. It's made to help reduce our time and really be able to spend time with our business. So like our service providers, instead of them, inputting things into Excel sheets or platforms, they could be having more time where they could connect with a client instead of like
Mm,
trying to do all of these things, because at the end of the day, this is a relationship thing, because we could get as many clients as we want, but if the clients feel like, well, this broker doesn't care about me, all they care is like they just send me a renewal, a check, that's it. There's no relationship. It's
mhm,
very different because I've been in situations where I walk in and the prospect will tell me, well, I haven't seen my broker in the past 5, 10 years. And it's a really easy win because they're like, oh, I want to work with someone who actually cares, who's actually here to represent me versus people thinking they're just a paycheck.
mhm. I get it. And what else do you see as an obstacle that you like to go over?
Another obstacle that I see,
I can reframe the question if you want. Okay, go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
no, sorry, I took a time to think about. I think, you know what? I think another obstacle, I think another thing I would like to see the insurance as, as a whole, really make the connection into the person and us, because, we're getting into this quick movement where sometimes people don't want to deal with people because it's easier to do it all online and chat. But I also see that there's starting to be a gap between the people connection, because if I look at the, really successful brokers, they all have amazing relationships with their clients. So that's one thing that I want to, do and grow. But I think the insurance industry could really improve in making it more of a relationship. Because I think when people think about insurance, they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. It's just, it's a lot of money.
Mm,
Insurance is a scam. I always hear that, across different nations and the state. But I do think that the insurance industry could adopt more of a relationship basis.
mm. Okay, okay. How do you do this yourself? Because that's time consuming.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely time consuming, but I think it's very valuable to, because at the end of the day, I feel like people will
Oh,
remember how you make them feel versus what they pay.
yeah. Understood. Understood. So now, how does AI intersect in this ability to be more high touch?
Yeah, I think AI definitely helps out in reducing my work, the admin works, and making it easier because, we are the client when they want something, we want to make sure that they get it quick and they get it right.
Mhm.
Not to say that robots don't make mistakes, but if you implement the correct things, the amount of mistakes and how fast a person could get, I'll give an example, a certificate of insurance. We work with contractors all day, every day, and they request certificates of insurance almost every single hour. And sometimes it might take our service providers, 4 to 5 hours to respond, just depending on, how busy they are. And if I could just, get the wand and say, hey, we have this process, or like, for the easy ones, just use this link, input what it is, and within 30 seconds you have a certificate of insurance. That's going to make everybody's life easier,
Yeah.
especially that, because certificate of insurances they're very instrumental in construction because they can't get into a project, they can't get
Yeah.
paid. And then, people like right now, this is a holiday weekend. If you're not requesting your certificate of insurance today, and you request it late and Friday, you're not going to get one until Tuesday, because a lot of offices are closed early on Friday, and then it's a holiday, so then people have to wait until, the next week.
Understood. So then let's conclude with one question, okay, which I shared with you when we were preparing together. So let's say you can wave magic wand. What is it that you would change today immediately in your company within your circle of influence, what you things that you can change and have an impact on from an operational standpoint and from a growth engine standpoint.
First, I would change and automate would be the how we get our system. So automating our quote system. So if we could just get the basic information, implement it, and our engine could just go out and quote real quick. That would be easy because now our salespeople could just go in here instead of me going, me taking the information over to my account manager taking it over to the assistant then going in and doing it. And then that would definitely reduce time. So they just me having an automated system where I say, hey, this is the information, the engine or whatever it is could just go, okay, I'll automate it for you, get it into the system, and then it could go out to quote a market. And then from another standpoint, I think another thing that I would like to automate is our clients' birthdays, making it more personable. So like having, like, hey, congratulations, you've been with us 3, 5 years. We want to send you a gift card to Starbucks, or we would like to congratulate you. Because simple stuff like that, like birthdays. As far as I know, I don't think any brokerage is doing that where they send out like, hey, thank you for being a client of ours for 10 plus
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, yeah. So these systems that you're talking about are the systems that Acrisure that you use, right?
Yes.
Okay, but that's not within your circle of influence. I mean, yes, you can tell, you can escalate, but what is that you can do within really your thing? Because you have not talked about much client acquisition. So I'm sure, to grow your business, and bring it to 5 million, you have to approach more people, right?
Yes,
You do
correct.
outreach. Yes. So how do you go about your outreach?
About the outreach, I mean, I would honestly say, the automated system would do a lot more. For me, in my experience with emails, there's everybody does email outreach, but I feel like emails are just so redundant. Everybody gets email, prospecting emails and so forth. So for like outreach, I would definitely say the quoting system's more, but like on top of my head where I could say where we could do client outreach, I would say more. I think it's better for the broker to go directly to the client versus, like an email.
Mm. Okay, so what do you do today? I mean, you make more phone calls, you spend more hours, or what is your practical?
Well, yes. So I use social media as an outreach. So I have my social media, and that's kind of been there to like as a backup, not backup, but like it just gives me like a second layer. So I feel like the social media for me is something that's always running, 24/7. Like no matter what, like the social media page will be there. As far as for me right now, I do want to go back into the phone system. So I haven't been able to make any, phone calls because we've been trying to help out with the service and so forth. But I actually now thinking about going back into that and having that personal touch.
So it sounds like time is of essence in your,
Yes.
yeah. How many hours do you work per day?
I would say I mean, I work on, my things and then because I have my social media and stuff like that. So after hours, but I would say I probably work anywhere between 10 hours to 11 hours, just depending.
That's long days, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I think you've shared quite a bit about your business and your trajectory and this relationship with Acrisure, which is like the backbone really of your business today. And I hope that they will accelerate on everything that will make your business even more effective and free some of your time. Anything else that you would like to add, that you would like to share with our audience today about your business?
Would like to share with the audience that, if you haven't adopted AI, adopt it because, it's going by so quick. A lot of people are advancing. It's not going to stop. It's just going to get more and more. So if you haven't adopted any methods or look into it with your team, I would say adopt it. It's the best thing you could do for yourself for implementation, but don't lose that touch of human. So, still keep in touch if you can with your team. And I also do think it's a great time to be able to reconnect and build, current relationships.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I really greatly appreciate and wishing you all the best. And maybe in 1 year, we'll see each other again once you've achieved some of your goals, on your way to the $5 million book of business. Thank you so much, Rocio. All the very best to you.
Thank you, Francis.
You're very welcome. Thank you.